one. So we've been sitting on this theory for a little bit, and let's just dive into it. So it says, hey guys, I'm a listener from the south coast of England. I got into the series through the show and have since spent many hours reading through A Song of Ice and Fire and Reddit pages, getting drawn into the detail behind the story. Listening to you guys do the chapter by chapter is a perfect way for me to catch up on a lot of the book specific details, and I'm really enjoying listening. I wanted to write you to sort of share a theory that has been bubbling away in the back of my mind. It's a combination of a little theories he's heard elsewhere. He doubts he's probably the first one to put this together. Maybe, who knows? Mm-hmm. I haven't heard this.
I haven't.
Actually, I glanced through this one.
Yeah.
So I don't dig around on Reddit much though. So that's
I do every now
and
then.
Yeah. So anyways, he says, let's see. I doubt I'm the first to put this together, but it feels like the route Gur would go down. So much so that I'm surprised it's not discussed more. So either it's cleverer than I think or already largely debunked. So this is the theory about the history of the North and the others, and potentially how A Song of Ice and Fire will play out. It's based largely on a lot of what Gur has said about how history gets lost over time and how good and bad are often a matter of perspective. It starts with a question: why are the Night's Watch and the Night King so called? Not in the world of Ice and Fire, but why did Gur give them such similar names? So we're going to leave it there for just a second. And the reason being is because as soon as I read that, I thought about the idea that...
First of all, that's a great question.
It's a great question.
Because I don't think anybody ever thinks about that.
Well, and he's right that they should. Because he has said in interviews multiple times that like the thought process behind the name is huge.
Yeah.
Like Duran Martell's name has meaning. It's tied to, it has historical meaning, and meaning in and of itself. Possibly ties to death or characters in history that symbolize death, or the stranger in this world, in this context. But yeah, anywho, he does really start to kind of think about how the names sort of drive the character. I guess when he writes it, he says, why they're called such.
Yeah.
I think maybe just for him and his style of writing, that is, like when he goes back to that character, if he's done that much work in the name, he's got a good feeling associated with that character. Because he says they evolve over time. As he writes this story, it's evolving. Mm-hmm. Which is why I've told you years ago that there are so many threads that he started that I don't know how he's going to finish.
He's going to finish, yeah.
And I've said that a long time ago, and people can take that how they want.
He has multiple threads over multiple book series that he hasn't finished.
I know.
Because I've been going back through Dunk and Egg, and I'm just like, God,
where does that go?
About to finish it, and I'm like, is they ever going to get back to this?
Right.
And we're not even done with the main series. Normally people do the main series and then do the side stuff. Mm-hmm. He kind of likes to do it all at once.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. The Night King in the book is thought to be a former Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. We presume that the Night's Watch are there to watch out for the night, hence the name. But what if the apostrophe S represents possession? So instead of just... So it's he's basically saying, is it the Night's Watch? So the Night King, is this his watch?
Right.
That over time it's lost its purpose. Mm-hmm. Perhaps, they've been looking the wrong way on the wall, if that makes sense. Instead of looking north, they should be looking south and guarding against what is to come. Is sort of where he's getting with this. Let's see. What if the wall was originally built to protect the others from the first men? What if Gur has convinced us to look at the north the wrong way round? How does this theory change our understanding of the history of the North? Well, we've just recently did some digging into the Dawn Age and the age of the First Men and all of that goodness, and it is pretty clear that we know there was warring happening between the Children of the Forest, right, and the First Men. So much that there was they're using their magic. Did they break the land bridge between Essos and Westeros? Did they try that again at the neck and it didn't work? And you've got the Isle of Faces there where the treaty is made. They were doing everything that they could to sort of, save themselves or protect themselves. And if you think about it from their perspective, the children's perspective, trying to preserve themselves and their way of being, why wouldn't they want to possibly take back the 7 kingdoms?
Yeah.
Why are they just content to be beyond the wall? So you hear a lot, and I've been seeing some theories online that the children of the forest are actually perhaps the bad guys.
A lot of people say that.
Air quote, the bad guys. Did they create the others or the White Walkers or what have you? In the show we see that pushing the obsidian into the chest or whatever to kind of form them. So, okay, let's move on a little bit here. Bran the Builder originally built the wall. If the Night's Watch and the Night King are on the same side at this time in history, then so too presumably is Bran the Builder. So if they are on the same side, so kind of following his train of thought here, Bran the Builder builds the wall. During that time, he is then a part of the Night's Watch, or at least on the same footing with them, helping them build this wall for possibly the Night King. Now, again, though, I got to say, to stop right there, the Night King is supposedly the 13th Lord Commander. So, but again, there's rumor that Bran the Builder could be more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
So again, he's very right in that the histories are very skewed, because Bran the Builder, how long did he live for? Because apparently he was building things that happened well beyond his time, supposedly. Did he lay the foundation? Did he lay the blueprints?
And another thing, I'm real quick on the Bran the Builder thing.
Yeah.
I definitely am a big believer that the Bran the Builder could be more than one person. There's a lot of theories that every Bran is actually the same Bran, since we saw Bran go back in time and do the Hodor thing. Because every time they talk about that name Brandon, when they're talking about Old Nan, I think it's either at the end of a Game of Thrones or early into a Clash of Kings. They're talking about Old Nan, how she's been there forever. And we don't really remember when she came. She came for to be the wet nurse to Brandon, but it may not have been Ned Stark's brother Brandon. It may have been a Brandon before that.
Yeah. I love that the other day we finished the podcast and we were talking about Old Nan, and Matt just looks across the table at me and he goes, "Is she the Red Widow?"
I know.
I was like,
that's a big theory. We're going to dive into that, because I actually just finished A Sworn Sword.
Yeah, you're
yesterday.
You're rereading those
at work. Yeah, I'm I'm taking a break from a Clash of Kings, and as I plow through it, and I wanted to replow through Dunk and Egg, because guys, to be honest, I think Dunk and Egg are the best.
They're huge.
I love them, and they're huge, and there's so much stuff in them that when you go back and you hit the content in it, there's stuff now where people are having dreams. I just forgot about it because I only read it once.
Right.
Where people are having dreams about stuff that happens with Dunk and it comes true.
Oh yeah, 90%.
And some of Dunk's dreams, you could view and be like, wow, what does this pertain to? The bigger overall plot
and picture. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're overwhelmed by a world of Ice and Fire, the Hedge Knight series is great.
It's a really easy read.
Okay, let's get back to this, though. So, again, the idea, the Night's Watch and the Night King are in cahoots together, and they're looking south. And he goes on to say here that Bran also built Winterfell. If he was on the side of the others, then maybe Winterfell is not the last great house behind the wall, but is in fact an outpost beyond the wall. If you think of the kingdom being the northern, the land of always winter / everything south of that, looking south,
Right.
It's just a different perspective. Is this why there must be a Stark in Winterfell? Are the Starks seen as an ally of both sides? Aren't there stories about early Starks and others falling in love at some point, which is what somebody brought up
kind of are, yeah.
earlier, last week. I'm struggling to tie up the timelines as I've not read the books. However, we still don't know why the others started moving.
Yeah, great point.
Great point.
Great point.
Is it related to the lack of a Stark in Winterfell? Wow. Is it an attack on Winterfell? Is an attack on Winterfell seen by the others as an attack on them? You mentioned earlier that Catelyn's reservations about the words of the Stark house, winter is coming, that it's a bit literal, for a great house. It just didn't seem like words that, Matt's thinking now. I see him across the table here. Yeah, there's some. They're kind of melancholic, you know. He mentions almost Boy Scouts. So then he says, "Be prepared, etc., etc. What if the Starks are winter? Winter is coming, becomes much more boastful, more threatening. The North remembers what? Have they forgotten, or is this underlying subconscious memory that prevents them properly integrating with the South? Mm-hmm. Is there something there that makes their customs old? They're a strange people, as Catelyn had said." Yeah, were you thinking something there, or did you want to?
Well, you can finish if you want to finish, because there's one thing specifically he said that I just thought a lot about, and I was making a lot of connections because I just watched a video on it, and so we'll come back. So
okay, cool, yeah. So again, the gift, which is that space in between, right, you know, the wall and Winterfell, the Night's Watch, vows, the wildlings, everything related to the North suddenly has a very different feel about it, without contradicting either version of historical events.
Okay.
We're not quite finished, but...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Because I don't know. Again, I haven't got this far yet, and this is great. Okay, so, given the layers in which Gur writes, it is, though, after repeated phrases of the North that really convince me of this theory. They are so important in the story, and current interpretation of them are so... Let me see here. One-dimensional that I struggle to believe that Gur hasn't got more to reveal about the origins there. How typical of Gur would it be if the ultimate heroes, Starks, and ultimate villains, others, of the story turn out to be on the same side? With Jon stuck in the middle, Dany, Jon, you know, Night King, the three heads of the dragon. Maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but doesn't Jon's actions throughout foreshadow a certain amount of sympathy and willingness to coexist? That's true. You're right. I probably took it too far there. Finally, add to this melting pot the Bran is a time traveler theory, and you can
quickly. I think you can. I think he means like quite quickly extrapolate how Gur could bring this thread to the story
full
circle. And really satisfying conclusion. Returning these... Oh, sorry, I'm stealing it.
You're fine.
These critical northern sayings to his ancestors with a neat reference back to the Hodor origins story. Look forward to hearing what you have to... Where you take this rabbit hole. Regards, Sam.
Good God, we might have to climb back out of this rabbit hole, my friend.
Wow. Okay, first of all, thank you for that like well put together thread. There's so much to break down about this.
Can I say, too, when I read something like this, someone who is able to say, he's not saying a matter of fact, he's just raising questions. I think that's a very smart way to go about it, and sort of say, yeah, what are the details, what are the timelines, etc. That's very well thought out. That's why I thought this was such a good Raven to respond to.
Yeah, and something I've kind of gotten, just some messages on Instagram, and this is that I think a lot of people, and this was kind of the original point of the podcast, is that a lot of people, myself included, as I am actually pretty new to the books. Like I read the first book, and then I have read the Dunk and Egg series, and then I've mostly just read wikis about, you know, diving deeper. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's just where I'm at. But I've seen the show like a couple times.
Yeah.
But people have been messaging us saying like, oh, it's really nice to come into this because we're new to this. Like we've watched I think I would say I'm if I had to take a guess, I'd say most of our, we should actually do a poll. Most of our listeners are people who have watched the show, but maybe aren't as book heavy.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, A World of Ice and Fire is relatively new.
Yeah.
And the Dunk and Egg series,
and even A World of Ice and Fire is like written specifically like vaguely. Like
it is, and it's written in as a like almost like a textbook, not very appealing until you sit down and have a discussion with somebody about it.
So, so that kind of brings me to one of the points I want to raise here is that some big differences. As Ezra and I we were watching. We just restarted watching Game of Thrones. To get ready for our book to show comparison.
We've plowed through the whole season.
Yeah, pretty much we plowed through the season. Well, we're supposed to just watch the first episode, but it's crazy because there are moments where even we're past episodes where we've been like, oh, I think this happens, and we're just like, no, I think that's show exclusive.
Right.
So one of the things that is show exclusive, now, at least in the prologue, is the White Walkers when they kill like they don't kill Garrett, but they kill Waymar Royce and the other guy.
Yeah.
In the show, when they zoom out, they're in a symbol.
Yes.
And then I believe Mance Rayder says to Jon Snow in the show, you'll have to correct me if this is in the book.
Yeah.
Sir Ezra, is Mance Rayder, when they come across a bunch of wildlings or whatever that have been killed by the White Walkers, they zoom out, and again, it's another symbol, and Mance Rayder says, always the artists.
Dang. Is that in the book is what you're asking?
I don't, because I watched an episode of, it was either Order of the Green Hand or Talking Thrones. I think it was Talking Thrones. And I believe he said that wasn't the case in the books.
That may be because I definitely know they don't talk about the actual symbol. I don't believe.
Right. Remember how they're always in like weird symbols?
Right. But he may have said something about the others. I'll have to look it up real quick and see what he said.
And then when you go to the scene last season, where Jon is showing Daenerys the sigils in the cave, and it's like a reference to. So that might be something that may never even happen in the books. People might be listening and be like, "You guys are totally wrong." So I'm totally saying this with like,
no, yeah, you're just
complete. I believe, but
it just came to you and you're throwing it out there.
But so my thing is that maybe because the show every season I've been like, when are we gonna get more story on the White Walkers? Because they're gonna have to cram it in, into this last season. Because right now the only thing we have is that they just were there, right?
And I think we will go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I think we will get more because, what we saw on the show, if there are these little confrontations that they're popping up with Jon,
right,
and, Mance Rayder being nearby or the wildlings or what have you. Because remember, when they go back to Hardhome, that in the show, right, they're about,
Yeah.
Are they about to go there in the books or did they already go there? I can't remember.
But
no.
They're past it in the books.
They're past it, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, those confrontations and things have happened. But because what I was going with there is I thought there'd be more explanation, given in the books, but we'll have to see.
But
Winds of Winter will be where it's at.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see.
But he said Sam said a very interesting thing, especially given what we know now about Hodor and the significance of little sayings.
Yes.
Why must there always be a Stark in Winterfell?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that it's simply just as, well, we just got to have somebody there. Is there a bigger reason?
There could be. There really could be. There could
be. Because we're always hearing about, well, we have the blood of the first men in us. They're always reminding us how important
that blood
blood of the Starks is.
Right.
And then we're always, like, the three things when it comes to the Starks is we know winter's coming.
Yep.
We know there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. And we know they have the blood of the first men. When every time we talk about the Stark lineage, that's the three things.
Yeah. So if there's some spells or some bounding power there, right, or binding power that could be keeping something. Now it depends on if you go with his perspective, then that I'm not sure where you go with that whole Stark being in Winterfell type of thing. But if you go with the Starks being opposed to the Night King, and they leave their seat, then all of a sudden, is there something that their power, their blood, them being there, is keeping something imprisoned?
Right.
Is there something the Night King wants there in Winterfell?
Right.
Which people have talked about that in the crypts. They've talked about there possibly being, his lady.
Yeah.
Possibly being there.
Well, another thing I was thinking of, I know this kind of set me down this kind of solidifies some more of just some things I've had in the show. When Bran is in the Weirwood tree, or when he's, when he's taken over for Bloodraven. Remember the scene where he's walking around with the White Walker army, and then the Night King touches him?
Yes.
And like Night King kind of like gets in his head or whatever.
Right.
I always thought that is what would actually cause the Night King to be able to get through the wall. I thought maybe Bran had some sort of power now that he's the three-eyed raven, and when he comes through the wall, like through the gate, like it would allow the Night King to then like escape the power of the wall.
Yeah.
And so that was always how I thought, and it could still be that way in the books because who knows?
True.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That was my initial thought. But so anyway,
No, you're fine.
Thoughts going everywhere because the path he's sending us down. Well, I want to get back to that because that's a very important path. But it just made a lot of things click in my mind and like what I think is the more traditional path.
He's literally focusing on an apostrophe that could or talking about the idea of possession. The Night King possessing the Night's Watch. That being such a subtle, minute detail.
It really is.
It is right. And he's done this. I mean, Gur has shown that he'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea, like you said, the saying, "There must always be a Stark in Winterfell." That being talked about is significant. Those sayings matter. Now, this idea that
the apostrophe and the possessive.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they've lost. Maybe over time after the 13th Lord Commander, the Night King. And do you remember how the stories say that he bent them to his will, like the Night's Watch, essentially. They were almost entranced. They were under his spell. I can't remember exactly how it said it, but and then he ruled supreme there, essentially.
The only question I have about this whole thing is, if that were the case, why is Castle Black and everything on that side of the wall? Wouldn't it make sense to have it on the other side of the wall? Because if the idea was that the wall was was initially set up to protect the others from the Andals and everything, the Andals and the Valyrians, and just the people of the realm, wouldn't it make more sense that all that stuff would be on the other side of the wall?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It would, wouldn't it? Yeah, unless unless on that side, so you see how easily they can climb the wall and get over, right? Not easily, but the wildlings climb.
Right.
I mean, I'm just chasing a rabbit here. Okay, that's all I'm doing. If they're on that side to just patrol the wall itself, I don't know. Could they do the same thing from the
and
other
that's
side?
another
They could.
thing.
Yeah.
Is the wildlings?
Yeah.
What
about them?
Like, how exactly did they get over there? Because if the wall went up, why didn't they bring those people? You know what I mean? Or was it people who just went over there and over time it just populated? Or
could be, but I think it's mentioned that they might have just been on the wrong side of the wall.
Yeah.
When it was erected, maybe they lived much further north and just. I mean, I can't imagine that they would know about the construction of it and then not try to get around it. You know what I mean? If there was some, I don't know. That's a great question. That is a really good question. So, any other thoughts on this? I mean, does it seem
there's
like...
a lot. This is a huge theory. So hold on. There's a lot he has going on here. So the Bran the Time Traveler part.
Yeah.
So once you introduce time travel to something, it kind of can jack a lot of things up. But so far, Gur has done it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But if Bran can do it, does that mean, I guess, that any other three-eyed raven has done it? Does that mean Bloodraven has done it?
Well, again, okay, hold on. So we've only seen this done in the show, right?
This may, but then Hodor.
Yeah, how does that happen? Does that happen though? See, here's the other thing.
They could have just been like, "Oh,
this could be cool. This could be an HBO, showism.
This would be a huge
showism. That'd be a huge props for
showism.
HBO. I mean, it'd be huge. No, I mean, come on. That something is. So I think there's a way in which it's done, but there might be more explanation as to what is happening, because they do in the show mention a lot, like when Ned is going up in the Tower of Joy and he almost hears Bran, something in the distance causes him to turn around and like he heard his name mentioned.
Right.
So there is that reach beyond back into time that Bran is showing, or that that he has. But if that's the case, why then didn't Bloodraven do some of this stuff? Like, what is it that he needs Bran to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why can't he go back and change?
Maybe because Bloodraven doesn't have the blood of the first men.
Wow, maybe. There you go.
Because Bloodraven is of this is I was listening to this day in Duncan Egg. Egg was like, well, Lord Bloodraven is baseborn, and Dunk corrects him. He's like, no, he's just bastard born. There's a difference because he's a highborn bastard.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still not a northerner. He doesn't have the blood of the first men in him. It was just interesting, something I thought.
But who?
Bloodraven.
Okay, but He's a Targaryen, right?
Yeah, he's a Targaryen. Yeah.
So what are you saying there? He doesn't have the blood of the
He
first
doesn't have
man.
the blood of the first man. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And that could be the whole reason there that Bran has that blood.
And Bran, and Bran, not only has the blood of the, he's got that Stark bloodline in him. I don't know. There's just something. I don't know. But there's something there.
Yeah, there is.
Well, anyway, what I was thinking of. Sorry, I don't know why I brought up the whole thing, but I was just thinking of something else. Is that a lot of people theorize that Bran is who causes the Mad King to go mad.
Okay.
Because some people, I've read some online, some people are saying burn them all. He's not. He doesn't mean burn. It's like he's thinking of like the White Walkers, burn them all.
Yeah. Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah.
Wait a second. What just happened? Okay, let me think about that for a sec. That'd be huge. That'd be a Hodor moment.
Exactly.
Because, Jamie said that he's been saying that,
because that's all he's saying. Burn them all.
For months.
Burn them all.
Weeks, Yeah. Wow. Maybe he was prepping to kind of, save the Seven Kingdoms. And it just wasn't.
Maybe
he was,
Yeah.
Interesting. Or he saw something, it was shown something, and his mind couldn't handle it.
Right.
Same way that Hodor's mind couldn't handle, what was happening to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we know that people have dreams. Obviously dreams are very, very thing. I'm going to reference it again. Dunk and Egg. I mean, the first one, who is it? Daemon Targaryen or Darren Targaryen. Remember, he's the one he dreams of Dunk and a dragon dying, and he's
you mean his brother who's drunk all the time on the way to the thing? Yeah,
it's Darren. Yeah. Darren, I believe. Yeah, and then Baelor Breakspear is the one who dies. Baelor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm kind of stumped by my mind's thinking too much about.
There's a lot. This is a great theory, Sam. This is a lot of different stuff. But I mean, ending thoughts on it is.
I think it's interesting to think about. I don't know that it's full. I mean, here's the thing. Would we see in the show, we didn't see this, but in the book, could you see the Night King coming by and possessing, the Night's Watch in a way that's different from just killing them and rising them from the dead,
right,
and turning them into whites? Yeah, maybe you could. Maybe those are his, he could turn them into his, like a thrall-like type of,
right,
following or whatever. But there's something magical with the wall. There are spells there. I believe this. I think Mance mentions that the wall, though, in the book is something that is keeping them at bay. Now, this is Mance. Right. That's keeping the others at bay, right? So maybe, again, everyone is like the history. Go back to the first couple paragraphs of this theory, that the histories have been lost, and we don't quite understand what's happening. We're trying to get south of the wall, but really,
right. Well, think about this, right? In the show, this could just be the show trying to set up cool scenes, but there are specific scenes which kind of, don't make sense, right? So there's the scene where a White Walker just walks by Sam. Remember that? Where Sam's like hiding.
Oh,
the White Walker, and he's like, maybe it's the White Walker didn't see him, but okay, come on, those things are like super powerful. Yeah. I think it's because he kind of like looks and then just like walks away or whatever. I think it could just be a cool scene in the show. Where
just to build suspense.
Build suspense. But then, now again, this could just be HBO. We see the Night King take down a dragon flying in the air with an ice spear. Why does he just let Jon Snow and the group sit there on that, little island thing? Remember where Thoros and Mira is dying and they're on the island, and now we know the Whites can't get to him, but we sure as heck know that if the Night King wanted to kill him, he could just throw an ice spear at him. Mm-hmm. Now again, it could just be the show, but does the Night King know a dragon's coming?
Wow, I don't know.
Because maybe when Bran does a thing and he touches him, does he then gain?
Are they connected?
Are they connected?
Yeah.
Is it kind of like to throw in a different reference here? Is it kind of like Star Wars, like
Force connection
between Rey and Kylo Ren?
That'd be crazy.
I don't think they're going to get together or anything. But I just
look at the barrier there that was created there when Bran is down with the three-eyed crow. Mm-hmm. He is able to cross, in the show anyways, he's able to cross that barrier no problem, right? I mean, he's able to the whites can't get in there, but the others have no problem walking across it, and boom, the fire's done. Right. So yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't be able to in the show, not just cross. It was water, right? That they fear.
Well, in Hard Home too, yeah, they fear the water too, yeah.
Right. So
when Jon and the Night King have that epic stare down.
Right, but so fire does nothing to them. So like they can walk through fire, but they can't walk across water. Or you see?
That's the whites thing. Yeah.
Right.
But
So,
I don't know if I don't know if the Night King can or can't. I don't know.
no, I mean that was the thing. They were all. That's why the distinction between the whites and the others is interesting. Right. But like that's why the whites were kept at bay by the children of the fire, the children of the forest.
Right.
Their fires, right? That kept them at bay. It did not keep the others. Maybe it just wasn't a strong enough fire. But they had trouble. The whites had trouble with that, but the others had no problem.
Is it? I think
that kind of throws you off, doesn't it?
I think it's only. Is it? Does that take place after Bran has the thing where the Night King grabs him? I think it does.
That could be. Maybe.
I think that's what breaks the spell. I think that's what breaks the spell.
Okay, that could be what allows him to walk in there. Yeah.
Right. Which is what I thought. Because it was like, oh, if that breaks the spell for that, that's going to break the spell for the wall. Because we know Bran's going south of the wall, and I was like, maybe that's how he gets through. Because I never envisioned the Night King was going to like ice dragon.
No.
Tear down the wall that way. And in the show or in the books, totally different. If there's gonna be a Horn of Winter or something,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's just 3 dragons on an ice dragon.
Yeah,
quite honestly, I think that might be the way that it goes.
Yeah,
there may be a dragon in the wall, or he may raise a. If he can raise dead whatever, why can't he call upon? And he's probably recently dead, but maybe he could raise a dragon or something.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What if? Mm-hmm. Just kind of going off his theory here, where he's like, maybe the Night Kings aren't as bad as we think. What if?
Yeah.
It's the 3 heads of the dragon. We have 3 heads: Night King, Dany, Jon, and it is a song of ice and fire because you have Dany who is fire, the Night King who is ice, and you have Jon who is ice and fire.
Wow, that's a little crazy. I'm
just saying.
Yeah,
I never know.
Yeah.
They want us to go down deep rabbit holes. This is.
Yeah, I know. But I like this because you do turn the perspective back to the children. And the children, like I said in the beginning, the fact that they're fighting for their own survival. So it's one of two things. Did they awaken something or ally themselves with the great other, this evil god that is literally not, the long night could come again? Or are they actively working with this great other? Now, here's something. When the 3-eyed crow is in connection with the werewood.
Correct.
Okay, it does not look like he is there of his own will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it seems like, and it seems very scary. It seems very.
You're talking in the books.
In the books, yes.
Oh yeah, Bloodraven.
Bloodraven.
It's almost like he's
held against his will.
He's held against his will. Like he's really old.
Yeah.
And it could just be really old, but it's basically like he's almost like part of the tree.
Right. And it seems like that the children are feeding off of him and his knowledge. Mm-hmm. When he's in the werewood, they are also tapped into other werewoods. You see other children that are sitting wrapped in the werewood roots. Well, it's described that way. And so that has made me think that there's more going on down there than what we realize. What are the other children up to? What are they seeing? What are they tangling, messing with, etc.? Do they not have the power that Bloodraven and these, because they relied on what they called their green seers. Right. And maybe they've lost that and they needed another one. They needed Bloodraven. And so they've got him and they're using him. And now they've lured Bran there as well. And maybe that was Bloodraven himself trying to free himself, or to say, maybe he sees a plot. I'm just going off of this guy's theory here, right? If the children are the bad guys and he's brought Bran to sort of save everyone. Because my question to you earlier was, why isn't Bloodraven just doing all this stuff himself?
Exactly.
But he's being watched. He's being watched. He's being manipulated, and he's teaching
Which
Bran.
I will say is actually, so you have to go back to Dunk and Egg for this.
Yeah.
But if you also look at Gur's writing style, is that Gur often, he does this thing where he's kind of like, with characters, is like, be careful of what you wish for, right?
Yeah.
Is that, like, look at Sansa. Sansa's like, I just want to be Joffrey's
princess.
Well, you get that.
Yep, you do.
Right. You know,
didn't
and
turn
like
out
John, I want to go to the north. Okay, you do. And you know, how does that work? How does that work out for you?
Right.
But Bloodraven, if you go back to the Dunk and Egg series, how many eyes does Lord Bloodraven have? 1,000 eyes and one. That's his whole thing. Is he's like he before he becomes the three-eyed crow or three-eyed raven, is he's basically like super Varys.
Well, he's
like
also
if you think Varys has eyes everywhere,
right.
go read the Dunk and Egg series.
Yeah.
Bloodraven has like Varys couldn't even hold a candle to Bloodraven.
Well, let's go over. I mean, I think Bloodraven had, you know, the ability to skin change, and he had green sight. I think he had both of those things. So there's that whole piece. He's different than the other Targaryens in a sense. So he has all these different, you know, skills. His nephew, Egg's brother, seems to have that gift as well. Rhaegar Targaryen seemed to have that gift. It seems to be a gift that is in the Targaryens, and then a gift that is in the Starks. Yeah, but they just haven't. It's been dormant for a while, and Bran has it, and they've got
John also has it.
Yes,
kind of.
Yes.
He can warg. He doesn't really know it though.
Right, exactly. And at the end, Catelyn Tully actually starts to kind of realize in the books that her son Robb should be keeping his direwolf a lot closer. Yeah, that things go bad when you take the direwolf away from a Stark. Yeah, like and you separate them. Exactly.
Even Ned says that, and he's like, "Wow, they're the seed of." And he regrets killing Lady. Yeah,
for sure, 100%. And so once they're reunited with their direwolves, things go better. That seems to be a good thing for them. So, anyways, I think it's there with the Starks, and you're right in the distinction between the different bloods and what powers they might have and what not have, etc. So, anyways, I just wanted to send people down that rabbit hole a little bit to go back and take a look at what's actually happening to Bloodraven there.
Right. Well, what I was saying is that like Bloodraven's whole thing is that he's like Varys, right? And he wants to have like complete control over the realm because he's trying to put down, you know, like 18, you know, Targaryen Blackfire rebellions. Yeah. So isn't it like, I guess, ironic? Is that's kind of his thing, and then he becomes the Three-Eyed Raven, where he really has 1,000 eyes and one or three, you know, for that in that case. Where that's kind of his character, then that's what he ends up becoming.
Exactly. Or are they using his 1,000 eyes and one? Is my thing. And if they are, then he's still working towards the greater good in the realm, but he needs to reach out, and it's very hard, but to reach out to Bran, young Bran.
He does.
And he also reaches out to George and Reed.
Right.
And has him, you know, I think there's green sight happening there. He knows because to lead Bran.
Yeah, because when Jojen Reed, or maybe it's Mira, I can't remember. I think it is Jojen. I just passed that chapter. Yeah. It's when they show up and Bran's there at Winterfell. It's when Robb is, you know,
managing things.
Yeah, managing things. And he shows up and he says that it's either Jojen or Mira. I can't entirely remember, but one of them says, "Oh, I had a vision." I think it's Jojen. Had a vision about, like, you know, Bran and Winterfell, and Howland Reed's like, "You need to go there now."
Oh yeah, for sure.
And sends him. Just sends his two kids.
Instantly sends
go.
Them. Yeah.
You need to go right now.
Yep, that's a pretty big deal. Yeah. I mean, it just understand, like and also they live near and understand the significance of like their keep kind of moves in the marshes, and they are still really tied to some deeper magic and near, like, what is it? Are they near the Isle of Faces? Yeah. Aren't they? I thought
the
so.
Chronic Men, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. And they could kind of, So anywho.
I mean, their castle moves, you know. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah. But so think about this is like, was there a Three-Eyed Raven before Bloodraven?
Yeah. So here's my thing.
We don't know about that.
I don't think there was. I really don't think there was.
Okay. Because we don't know entirely why he goes, and it could be theoretically a Bran time traveling thing, right? Because remember that it's like there's a lot of things that happen in the books where it's like suddenly one day this happened. There's a lot of these suddenly one day things,
right?
Where in the show, suddenly one day Hodor just started saying Hodor.
Yeah.
Suddenly one day Rhaegar dropped his book and said, "I need to learn how to fight." Suddenly one day Bloodraven left as the Night's Watch commander.
Watch. Suddenly one day the Mad King started saying, "Burn them all."
Yeah.
You know, you're right about that. Now here's my thinking back to the idea that there was multiple Three-Eyed Crows. I think that back in, you look at the Dawn Age, the children had their green seers,
right?
And I think that's what they had. And I've always been mystified when we went back and read it again. Again, it's kind of vague.
It's super vague.
Are they actual children with green sight, or were they something else? It almost seems like
It's
they
so
were men,
confusing. I know.
doesn't it? It seems like they were
Well,
men
because
who had green
sometimes
sight.
it kind of describes them as different things. Like sometimes it seems like it's saying, well, they were like the green seers were like a hybrid between like I guess a human or Andal, first man, whatever, and a children of the forest.
Right. Yeah, a child of the Force. Yeah, I am with you on that. So like, I don't understand. Every time I read it, I'm like, they had green seers that were. That it seems like they're separate than the children, but yet they were a part of the children. So I think they had that going, and I think perhaps they lost that when they attempted to separate, because you see this pattern, right? They try to break off the you've got the broken arm from where Dorne leads into Essos. They try to break that off. Then they try to flood the neck and separate the two, separate Westeros in half. That doesn't work. They fall back to the wall. And are they working now? It works very well to think about his theory that Bran the Builder, and they made this pack, and Bran helped them build a wall, in which they could be protected, behind.
So then the question becomes, why are the knights? Why are they marching?
Why now? Why now? Yeah. Because
do they just try to do it every winter and they just get pushed back by the Night's Watch?
No. I think because this time the wildlings are always raiding and things like that. But you're talking about the others, and why are they on the move? Which is the question that was asked. What caused them to move?
Yeah.
And I think it could have been several things. Finding of ancient relics. Perhaps they do have a horn. Perhaps Mance is lying about having, the Horn of Winter, or something like that. Maybe they have some relic that they know can bring down the wall. I feel like what I just said there earlier was that the children possibly had the wall built for them, but then now they've been protected behind it, gathering their forces, and they're going to push south, and take back. That was all the children's land. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't they want to take that back?
Gosh, I'm gonna try and find something really quick. It's the scene where, I don't know why I'm just thinking about this right now. The scene or the chapter, I guess, where Melisandre's on the beach, and the maester there who's like, I don't want you to do,
is against
it. In the show, doesn't he drink? He drinks it and dies, right? It's like poison. He tries to give her.
Yeah, I think so.
In the book, I don't think he dies from it.
There's a couple people who conspire against Melisandre, and it doesn't go well for them. I'm trying to remember.
Right, but he even says like, you shouldn't have burned the 7. Like,
you're right. It might have been the maester. I think you're right.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I'm not. There's not going to be able to find it.
Yeah, and Davos is definitely against it and gets in prison.
But maybe that's the thing. Maybe R'hllor and these, and have they always been trying to find the next Azor Ahai? Maybe somehow Melisandre. This is just some thoughts here. Maybe somehow Melisandre tries to cause. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is, maybe it's just time for them to march south, and it's something with Bran.
It's just the winter's coming, and this is it. This is the time,
Yeah, and this is the time things have shaped up. They've found perhaps maybe it's Bran's injury that has awoken this power in him, and they're able to draw him north of the wall. He's theirs. Now it's time to move south because they have
there's the red comet. Like magic is true. Magic is back. The candles started burning. The dragons are back.
Right. Yep. You're right. So it's just the signs, the omens.
That is just
favoring war,
as
the Dothraki say. So yeah. Anyways, I don't know. Big rabbit hole there. Lots of different stuff to unpack. But yeah. And by the way, I'm like taking notes as we go through this. I love Fall Friday because Matt and I just do this off the cuff. Rolling off.
Which actually I like.
I enjoy.
Yeah. I really like these. Because when we do the main show, we try to, specifically have our notes and what we're going to talk about.
We've done the research.
But this is good for us because really what this does, Follow-Up Friday really is more of a bigger influencer of the main show, because then it's like, okay, we know what people want to hear, and it sends us to like make different connections.
We never would have went down this rabbit hole had we even had
but
this.
Now I have
now we have notes.
But now the question needs to be raised.
Yeah.
Why must there always be a Stark in Winterfell?
Right. Yes. Yeah, several questions have been raised. Yeah. What caused the others to move? What caused them to